Hey guys, what's up? It is Benny BTCG here, back with another video, and today we will be covering some of the new cards that have been announced in the next upcoming set. But first, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate. I hope everyone has a very good holiday season. I am recording this on Christmas Day, so if you're watching this, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year upcoming, Hopefully I'll get one more video out posted before the new year. But yeah, so let's take a look at some of these cards that have been released. So with this set has brought the return of A-Specs back. So there have been 3 A-Specs announced so far. 2 of them were announced on December 23rd. One of them was announced yesterday on December 24th. So to start, we have Neo Superior Energy. When attached to Pokemon, it provides 1 colorless energy, but if it's attached to Stage 2, it provides 2 of any energy type instead. So, I guess decks I could see this being good in is maybe Charizard. You can use the Burning Darkness attack with only Neo energy instead of 2 fires. But with the ability, you're probably going to be able to charge up the fires anyway. So, overall, I don't see this card being very good. Some people have said it could be good in Guardy. Now, I think it might have a spot in Guardy, but normally you're going to be down on prizes, and Reversal will just be like a much better option. Also, when this comes out, the Chilling Rain Guardy will be rotated, so you can't even really use this on that. So, I think this card's like pretty mid, honestly. Not something I would be like so hyped about. Now, this card, on the other hand, Prime Catcher. Switch one of your Pokemons benched with their active Pokemon. If you do, switch your active Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon. Now, this is similar to a support that was released back in Burning Shadows, I believe, called Guzma. Now, if you were playing back then, you would know how good of a card Guzma was. It's basically Boss's Orders, but with a switching effect. Now, sometimes that switching effect can be good, and sometimes it can be bad, but in a lot of cases you have to play with the switching effect in mind. So honestly, I think the switching effect is good, but this card is really good. Having a gust option on the item card for free, basically, like it's an item card, you don't have to use a support or anything. It's very strong. Now, people have been overhyping this, I believe, like they're saying that it breaks the format or whatever. I don't think it's going to completely break the format, but it will definitely be a staple that you should pick up. Now, we have some of the Pokemon that were released on December 24th. We have Gouging Fire EX, does 60 for a fire and a colorless, and 2 fires and a colorless, does 260, and it can't attack until it leaves the active spot. Doesn't seem horrible, but I don't think it seems very good. Obviously, I think this could have a spot in a deck like Entei Iron Valiant. But other than that, I don't see a world where it's played. Maybe it has a spot in Charizard. It can use fires. Does a strong 260 to start the game off, but not very strong in my opinion. Next up, we have Walking Wake EX. Now, just a disclaimer. These cards are evolved forms of previous legendaries. This is Entei. This is Suicune. There's another one that's Raikou. There's a Cobalion. And these are all just evolutions that were announced in the video game, I believe. So here we have damage from this Pokemon's attack is not affected by effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. This is good, but it's not really great. And if you look at the attack, if your opponent's active is affected by any special condition, this attack does 120 more damage. Now, I could actually see this being used with Brute Bonnet and Ancient Booster Energy Capsule. It actually doesn't seem too bad in this deck, but it's not very strong. Obviously, only 220 HP, 3 energies to attack with. It's going to be pretty hard to accelerate those, especially to like a water Pokemon, unless you're running Baxcalibur. So maybe if Shenpao has a Rising End, this could be used, but overall, I don't really see the hype behind this. Now, this card, Raging Bolt, this is the evolution of Raikou that I was talking about. This card has gotten a bit of hype. So, first attack, discard your hand to draw 6. Very strong. Strong on your first turn if you're going second. Basically a Squawkabilly-esque card, but with an attack. And its second attack, you may discard any amount of basic energy attached to your Pokemon, any of your Pokemon, in any way you like. And it does 70 for each card you discarded in this way. So a lot of people are comparing this to Amazing Rare Rayquaza. Obviously, you can utilize Mirage Gates with it. It has Lightning and Fighting. So overall, I think this card will be pretty strong. I think you will see this in Lost Zone box decks. But the only thing holding it back is the Dragon type. It can't hit anything for weakness, sadly, but it also doesn't have any weaknesses. It can have its HP buffed by Agent Booster Energy Capsule. And overall, I think it's a pretty good card. Scrolling up, we have this is the evolution of Virizion, I believe. Iron Leaves EX. Once during your turn, when you play this card down from your hand onto your bench, you may switch it with your active. If you do, move energy from your Pokemon to this in any way you like. So if you guys remember Scramble Switch, this ability is basically that. It's pretty good. And then the ability, at least. The attack, Grass, colorless, 180, can't attack during your next turn. I honestly don't see this being very good. Having 2 grass in this meta is just almost like unheard of. Grass is one of the types that has been like fallen over. It's just not good in this meta right now. So I don't see this card having any playable use. Next up, we have Iron Crown EX. Future Pokemon attacks deal 20 more damage. Pretty good. I think you could use this to amplify like Iron Hands or something like that. And its attack is for Psychic and 2 colorless. It does 50 to your opponent's bench, ignoring weakness and resistance. So it's a good snipe card, but obviously Manaphy will be in the format, so I don't really see there being any good attacking use for it. But I do see there being a potential use with its ability. So it has that going for it. Next up, we have Iron Boulder EX. This is the evolution of Terrakion. For fighting in a colorless, it does 60. And if it takes any damage from an attack during your opponent's next turn, puts 8 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. This is very similar to Bursting Balloon, if you remember from, I believe, Breakpoint. I remember Bursting Balloon being a fairly good card. It was played in decks like Greninja and Zorogarb. So not too bad. And then the next attack for 200, you discard 2 energy. Overall, the card's not terrible, but fighting, there's not really any fighting support in this format right now, so I wouldn't expect this card to see a lot of play, unless you could utilize it with like Gutsy Pickaxe or something. So next up, we have Flutter Mane. As long as this is in the active spot, your opponent's active has no abilities. So it's a bit it's a bit weaker of a Wheezing, as it only affects the active, but having an ability locked in this format can be very interesting. It can shape things up very differently. I think this card could see play in some decks, but overall, I think if you're going to play an ability lock card, you may as well just play Klefki. Now, next up, we have Iron Thorns. This card's really bad. Reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. Does 70 for each future card you find there. Discard the future cards and shuffle the others in your deck. Like, it's not terrible, but there's no way you can really revolve a whole deck around it. So I don't expect to see much play of this. Now, this one's pretty interesting. Look at the top 6 cards of your deck, put 2 into your hand and discard the rest. This could be pretty good. It's like a mini Colress, except it doesn't help the Lost Zone, but you do look at an extra card. So it could see some play, but I think you'd probably rather just play Colress. Now, next up we have Master Ball. This is a reprint of an A-Spec, which means that there is possibility for other A-Specs to come back in the future that were previously around, like Computer Search, Dowsing Machine, etc. So search your deck for Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. It's a pretty good card. It's Ultra Ball without the discarding effect. It's solid. I don't think it's better than Prime Catcher, but I think it's still good. Next up, we have a future Miraidon EX. There's no reason to play this over the regular Miraidon. This card is pretty bad. I don't really see any world where this is effective at all. And Koraidon EX. This one's not bad, but in order to attack with it, you do need a fire for the second attack, which I think brings this card down a significant amount. So I wouldn't expect this to see that much play. Also, it's a dragon type, so not really having anything to hit for weakness is a bit of a bummer. Next up, we have this Iron Hands. It's pretty mid. That's like the textbook definition of mid. You have a coin flip for paralysis. It's not good. Next up, we have Iron Jugulus, I believe. If it's in the active spot and takes damage from an opposed attack, with 3 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. It's pretty mid. I don't really see this being played in any deck. Next up, we have Great Tusk. This is really bad. I would never play this in any scenario. This card, 20. If you have 3 more energy and play, does 70 more. Maybe in like a Lost Box deck it could be viable, but even then that's a bit of a stretch. Then we have Iron Valiant. This is really bad. Don't ever play this. And then we have, what's this card called again? Screamtail. Heal 100 from one of your HN. It's not bad, but I don't think it's any good. And I think that's it. Oh wait, no, we have one more supporter. Codebreaker Solution. Search your deck for 2 cards, shuffle the rest, and put them on top in any order. Now this is basically a reprint of Mallow. If you remember, Mallow was a decent card. It wasn't used in a whole lot of decks, but it was still viable. It was good in Zoroark decks, so I can see this having a potential spot in like Guardy decks. Anyways, guys, that wraps up this video. Thank you all for watching. Big shout out to Twanley on X. They were generous enough to post all these cards, and if any more news comes out about the next set, they'll be the first to post it. Be sure to give them a follow, and have a happy holidays, have a Merry Christmas, and I'll see you in the next one.